With over 100 days in office by Nigeria's Minister of State for Education, Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has raised the alarm over the mass resignation of lecturers from Nigeria's universities. It said most departments and units in Nigeria's public universities were short-staffed due to the resignation of lecturers in search of greener pastures. The union said poor and delayed salaries, unpaid allowances, poor infrastructure, lack of respect for the academic community, and the seeming dwindling hope were some of the factors responsible for the resignation of lecturers in the past few months. However, as ASU continues to reject the student loan scheme, the Lagos State government has announced plans to host the 67th edition of the meeting of the National Council on Education, NCE, between Monday 11 and Friday 15th December. The meeting, which is themed Addressing the Challenges of Policy Implementation, a panacea for the Achievement of Education 2030 agenda, will feature different sessions that will culminate in the NCE session to be chaired by the Minister of Education, Tahir Maman, a professor. Joining us now on the morning show is Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, Nigeria's Minister of State for Education. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Dr. Sununu, it's good to see you again.
Good morning, ma.
It's good to see you again. Well, the last time we spoke.
Thank you, Dr. Abati.
Yes, last time we spoke, were you in France
Yes,
or you were part of the delegation to Dubai? Yeah, I don't quite remember.
No. I was part of the delegation to UNESCO.
Okay.
And we have a very superlative outing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good to have you in our studio. Now, let's begin with the achievements and engagements of the Education Ministry. In the last 100 days you have been in office, you have just concluded ministerial retreat in Uyo on the education roadmap for renewed hope agenda. What should Nigerians look forward to in the roadmap documents?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ruben Abati and the team. I must first of all start by commending the Arise TV for informing Nigerians and for also giving me the opportunity to be here for the second time in less than a month. This shows that you are tracking the progress of Minister of Education and also the progress of the government of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As you know, we came into the office on the 21st of August 2023, following the inauguration by the President and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And on that day, we reported immediately to the ministry where we have a warmly reception by the staff of the ministry. This was next followed by the agenda we set up ourselves, ministerial briefing, so that we can have first-hand information on the day-to-day running of the ministry, so that we can find achievement, problems, challenges, bottleneck, and then chart a course on how to address such issues with a view to move education sector forward. You also know that after that, it was also followed by ministerial agenda retreat, where the 8-point agenda of Mr. President and focus and priority areas were duly explained to all cabinet members and the permanent secretaries with view to align themselves with the goal of Mr. President of moving the nation forward in a renewed hope. And this ministry is not also exclusive in that participation. Now, after we have participated, we have received the ministerial briefing and also have the 8-point agenda of Mr. President with focus areas of education. We also have to come up with a policy that will try to develop a timeline way of achieving the goal of Mr. President. And that's why we came with the education roadmap, so as to give us a focus area that we can tag ourselves and begin to implement all the priorities of the 8-point priority focus areas of education in the 8-point agenda. We took cognizance of previous data documentation in the ministry, which include the ministerial strategic plan and many other documents and previous review and national policy on education to come up with the terms of reference to a teams of 8 members that we gave the assignment to develop the roadmap. Initially, a lot of people doubt the possibility of getting the roadmap developed in 8 weeks. But we must commend the effort of the members of the roadmap for giving us a document. And then one can easily summarize the document of roadmaps as being practical. It is practical. It is also realistic and encompasses virtually all the aspects of education. It has 13 thematic areas which try to address the issues that bordered around the issue of basic education, out-of-school children, infrastructural development in education, tertiary educational level, and many other areas that we think that that's the area we are going to develop. But the major aim of the goal is to see how we can orient ourselves towards achieving the goal of Mr. President of producing qualitative education that is backed by knowledge and skills so that individuals can contribute meaningfully to development of the country. If you look, for example, one of the thematic areas, out-of-school children, as I mentioned here earlier, that's one of the major issues that is currently bedeviling the nations. We have a lot of youth roaming the street without access to education. And the only way we can do is to see how can you improve and deliver qualitative education near to the doorstep of those youth so that they can participate actively. And then in this regard, our main focus is to see in our strategic plan, how are we going to do in the next 1 year to reduce at least the number of out-of-school children by at least 2.5 million youth to be driven out of the street back to school, and then arm them with skill that is necessary for them to participate actively in their edition. And then people ask, how will that be achieved? So we now develop a goal that we look at the areas where we can work on. Those areas included the MDS within the ministry and the Department of Basic Education. Those MDS include the Universal Basic Education Commission, Mass Literacy, Adult and Mass Literacy Commission, Nomadic Education Commission, and also the recently inaugurated National Commission for Almajiri and out-of-school children. And then we also look at the areas of development or partners that we can also key into the project towards achieving the goal of Mr. President of reducing children out of the street. And such programs include the Agile, which is adult Girl Initiative for Learning and Empowerment. And this is a program that initially started with about 7 states and currently is a Federal Ministry of Education, WHO, or World Bank funded project. It started with about 7 states, the Borno, Kebbi, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina. We also have Plateau and Ekiti, about 7 states of them. And seeing the outcome, the success in terms of its focus is to see how it can move girl child back into the school. But in doing that, while it shows girl child, but the school are not only exclusive to girl child, so even the boys will also benefit in that program. And the program entails infrastructural renovations. Apart from infrastructural renovation, targeting the girl child so that she can be empowered to be knowledgeable enough, have some skill, and go back to school through incentives of scholarship that is given to a girl child, and then developing her to be a responsible mother in the future. So that's also this. And we also look at the winding up program of better education service delivery.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I can see the passion in which you are delivering your plans for the education education sector. However, beyond your plans and the enthusiasm, I'd like to ask a few questions. You talk about the plans made and the roadmap developed by the committee set up by the Minister of Education. Number one is UNESCO gave the numbers or the figures for the out-of-school children in Nigeria, 20 million. Does the Ministry of Education have their own data in terms of the breakdown of the situation of things with regards to out-of-school children? Because you talk about tackling the issues, but do you understand the scale of the problem so that you know the best way to respond to them? Because you talk about responding to girl-child education. What is the justification for this? So if you could share with our viewers the demography, if you have the numbers, in terms of out-of-school children, you have breakdown in terms of male, female, breakdown in terms of which areas are the most affected. It will be really helpful so that we can understand how you arrived at the solution to tackling this issue.
Yes, not just like any other ministry, education ministry is also not exceptional in the issue of having a data. Data in Nigeria, everybody knows, is something that not to be accurate, but we are also planning to get actual data. We will have our own baseline that we are working with. Some of the plan to get across a very strong data is the current collaboration we are doing with National Population Commission to allow all the vital records being recorded, and also the ministry to have access to such data, like birth rate, death rate, and so many other data that we can do. But to say, yes, UNECOS came with 20 million number of out-of-school children, and also Universal Basic Education Commission came up with 13.5 million number out-of-school children. But you see, if you look at the issue, people thought that there are somehow disagreement, but rather it doesn't look up the agreement, but it's the number of the areas, the focus area. While the UNESCO consider both out-of-school children, adult and non-formal, the data for universal basic education concentrated on basic area. And so we have this thing. By and large, for us as a ministry, we are using the 13 million out-of-school children as a baseline, because for you to have a proper planning, you must have a baseline data so that you can assess in the next few years, what have you achieved? Is our intervention really working, or is worsening? But nevertheless, we are also still partnering to address some issues that are co-factors that are moving people's children towards becoming out of school. And such include the insecurity within the country. And this, we have been working closely with security agencies, and they are working hard to ensure that also schools are secured. Areas of some areas that are flashpoint are also being addressed through the security measures so as to improve our distance. Because even if we provide that, the people that will be displaced will still have internal migration, and that will also worsen the number of out-of-school children. So our strategy is to see, while we are mopping up, we are also collaborating with different organizations to ensure that we reduce the number of co-factors or comorbidities that will trigger further getting those who are in school out of school. These are some of the strategies we are doing. And I want to assure you that the major issue that we have also identified as a major setback in getting children out of school, back to school, is the issue of uniformity between the state and the federal government. As you all know that major education is in the concurrent list, with the local government, state, and the federal government having its role to play. If you look at this, and then as of today, if we are looking at the basic education and secondary school education, we only say that as of today, federal government has about 112 federal colleges, unity colleges. And if you look at the total number of schools in the country, you find that that is a very little percentage, because it's such in such a way that federal government is paying more attention at tertiary level. But we realize that the only way we can address the issue is to collaborate with state. And this we have done through a lot of advocacy visit. Minister was in many states, I was also in many states, and we had discussion with the state government. And even one of the programs we had is the basic education camp, which is also targeted towards reducing the number of out-of-school children, which was also held previously in Uyo. And we have a lot of active participation of nearly 95% of the state ministries of education and Universal Basic Education Commission at the boot camp. And we have also developed a strategy whereby we are going to work together with them and this. And also, that collaboration is also needed because we need resources for achieving the goal of reducing out-of-school children. And as you know, there are a lot of funds that is due for state lying with Universal Basic Education Commission because of non-payment of the counter fund. And this also we are working seriously and strongly through the Nigerian Governors Forum to encourage and then improve the access of that fund through mobilization of the governors to pay their counterfund fund so that we can utilize the money for such intention. And then, as I mentioned, that we also, the National Commission of Almajiri and Out-of-School Children is also another vehicle and tool that we are going to utilize seriously. And through that, the provision of the Act has also provided a room for active collaborations of Nigerians to be their brother keepers by contributing something to the Commission so that they can use it and they can track it timelinely to ensure that the target population of their area that are going to benefited from that. And also, the issue of, you cannot, when you are talking out of school children, you also look at the areas. Yes, the burden is higher in the northern part of the country, and though we cannot say Almajiri are not going through education, they are going through education. But what we are talking to do now is to see how we can integrate basic education into Islamic Sangaya schools so that we can have a uniform design, and that will also allow them to have access to formal education. We are also, just recently, we have a program in the ministry which is also a World Health Organization, World Bank funded project, the IDEAS. That is innovation, development, and acquisition of skills. That's a very good program that I've started, but the impact of COVID could not allow the program to deliver its mandates. And just about 3 days ago,
Sununu, if you can hear me,
we had a review
if you can hear me,
World Bank.
Dr. Sununu,
Yes,
if you can hear me, we'll come back later to basic education delivery. But let's cut through the chase. The issue of student loans. In the budget 2024 appropriation bill, about 50 billion has been proposed for funding, for activating the student loans scheme, even if the implementation details remain sketchy. But the universities, the ASU, are saying that they don't want student loans, that they prefer grants. That rather than give student loans, give grants and address the other issues in the education sector, because the loans will exclude many students, considering the criteria set out in the Access to Higher Education Act. The National Association of Nigerian Students is saying, why is it that government on one hand is offering loans and at the same time universities are increasing fees? That what they are recommending is 200,000 naira bursary for every student at the higher education level. So, what's your response to these demands? Grants or loans or bursary?
Well, you see, we are in a democratic setting which allowed freedom of expression and also government to be responsive to listen to what the general public is saying. When you ask me which one I want, I will tell you that what is currently ongoing fit what I want. Grant and the one that is coming, the loan. Because as of today, I want to assure you that grant is being enjoyed by some students in the country, though it doesn't cover everybody. But you have to know that Federal Scholarship Board is still in operation. And even this year, it has disbursed money. For those who are they are doing their Ph.D., they are given at least, it's a grant of 380,000 yearly. As a grant, those who are in masters were given 300,000, and those who are pursuing their BSc were given 250, and for NCE 200 and their diploma, and that has been issued. And also, you have to know also still through bilateral educational agreement, the Federal Ministry of Education and by implication the federal government is also assisting and sending students out there for education, which means that we still have the grant that is coming. As for the student loan, it's not only started in Nigeria. Many people know internationally, even in the developed world, are going into student loan board. But you quite all right mentioned, yes, the details is sketchy. Well, last time that you spoke with me when I was in Paris, I told you that really, actually, government is listening, and it has listened to the cry, of which you are one of the major people that cry as far as the access and the difficulty of the access. And I informed you as at that time that the committee is currently working, and definitely all the bulletin will address. You see, both National Assembly and the executive are in partnership here to see how students can be eased. Being if to say, for example, certain provision requires an amendment. We are in a government that we have an alignment. It is not a rubber stamp, but alignment between National Assembly and the executive. Where there is need to even amend, it's something that can be done quickly because of the urgency of that loan to service the country in terms of promoting educational development, which is the basis for development of this country. And therefore, I assure you that all will be done to ensure that students have easy access in terms of getting the loan.
All right. So loans and grants on one side, and you talk about ease of access to getting the loan, but we also look at the ease and access to getting quality education. ASU had raised the alarm about the mass exodus, as it seems, of lecturers in search of greener pastures abroad. They cited reasons why some of the lecturers are living in droves for greener pastures. One is that they are poorly paid, remunerated, poor conditions of work. What is the Ministry of Education going to do to address this brain drain, this exodus? Because you can give the student loans, students have access to these universities, and then they get into the universities, and they're, very underskilled, or little or no number of lecturers available to teach, and so affects the quality of graduates that come out of our universities. So we have a crisis on our hands. What is the Ministry of Education going to do in response to ASU's cry?
Yes, I quite agree with you. I quite agree with you that we are in an emergency situation and it requires an emergency decision. But let us understand the issue. I wasn't surprising. The brain drain, as at today, virtually affect all aspects of human endeavor in Nigeria. And this is directly related to the impact of COVID-19. So we are in a post-COVID-19 crisis management because the COVID-19 has done so much damage to health, education, science and
engineering
sector because
before COVID-19, before COVID-19, lecturers have been going on strike.
I'm now telling you right now.
Okay, before COVID-19, they had complained of poor remuneration.
I know.
They had complained about the service.
I quite agree with you, but it became worse. I quite agree with you, but it became worse post-COVID. You cannot deny that fact. You understand? Because so many vacancies were created outside there, because a lot of people in the Western world succumbed to the effect of COVID, and thereby creating much vacancies. Yes, we cannot sit down and watch as ministry, and that is responsible. So we have come out with a strategy of seeing that we have addressed the issue. You understand? And this we have many stages that we are doing. We have tried to informally and even at our leisure time to see how we can have a dialogue with union and association, Ministry of Education-based union and association. And this is ongoing dialogue. It's going there. We have listened to them, and many issues were raised. And we told them that as far as we are concerned, we are lucky, we are in a regime that the president has a political will to change the narratives. And also, he has a political will to bring a new hope to average Nigerian. And that average Nigerian, for him to have a hope, must have a serious and academic environment that can navigate research and provide solution to the current problem being experienced by average Nigerian. And when we do that is on the issue of the salary.
No, let's break down the problems.
On the issue of the salary.
Let's break down the problems, because you're giving a very broad response to, and it's important that you respond to the agitations, instead of the minister.
That's why I'm now coming on the salary. You mentioned salary, and I wanted to address the issue of salaries.
Okay. There's salaries,
yes.
there's allowances.
Definitely,
so let me just break it down, sir. There's salaries. They said paid.
That's what I'm...
hold on, sir.
I understand you.
Hold on, sir. Let me just break it down, just so that I can respond, broadly. So the first, unpaid salaries delayed. They talk about unpaid allowances. They talk about lack of infrastructure in there, so it hampers their work. They also talk about the fact that they feel like there's a lack of respect for the institution and also for lecturers. So there are specific items or specific issues that have been mentioned by ASU.
Okay.
So I'd like you to respond to them.
Let's start with the infrastructure, for example. I quite agree there is an infrastructural decay, but you also have to know that of recent too, there is also improvement in infrastructure. As a Minister of State, I'm representing the BISTO to various universities occasionally to their convocation. I have a cost to commission so many projects that are improved or developed or constructed through the TED Fund intervention. And we must also here say that we have to say kudos and thank Mr. President. It has never been so good, so funded like we have now in the budget for the infrastructural development through TED Fund. We have over 700 billion. This has never been in the history of Nigeria, and therefore the issue of infrastructure will not be completely eliminated, but will be addressed significantly. And not only that, even at the secondary, basic and secondary school level, you must know that even because the budget has improved, the amount going to universal basic education has rose to almost 270-something billion. This shows that there is now an increased spending. And by and large, if you look at even the budget generally, education is focusing in the second position next to security. And that means that we have a lot of money that we are going to invest. So infrastructure, yeah, quite all right, there is an issue. But the political will of Mr. President of channeling more money to education will help us in reducing the impact of infrastructural decay. And I assure you that in the next few months to come, you will see how university will change in terms of infrastructure, because there is a lot of fund that will this thing. Nobody will want education to go down as far as we are concerned. And if you look at even our strategic roadmap, though it is more or less concentrating on the basics, but we have also addressed such issues, and we are in dialogue. And definitely we are also looking at this. We are also developing a concrete idea to source more funds locally and internationally through a strong, effective public-private partnership in development of education. So that has to do with infrastructure. And those areas that we want, student hostel is a strong infrastructural improvement that can make better access to education easy, because they can have a place where they can remain within the school, especially at the point of this insecurity in the country. And that is where the ministry is also targeting its attention towards improving infrastructure through hostel by constructing more hostels through public-private partnership initiative. Now, when you look at the issue of salary, as you said, yes, we quite agree that the salary need to be reviewed, and actually there is also general inflation. Even if you look at the budget, the inflation rate even in the budget is about 21.5%, which is also significant. And on our own, when we came, what we did as far as we are concerned, and which we are working hard, that very soon it will be implemented, to ensure that, first of all, the new salary structure that was lining Palo in the ministry is reactivated, dusted, and then we have produced a circular to back that. And right now we are into negotiation and working with the Federal Ministry of Finance to ensure implementation. We are not saying that salary structure will cover everything and will reduce the issue of this thing. But it will show that the government is impactful, the government is sensitive, the government is listening and the government is aware that there is hardship being experienced by lecturers and workers in the tertiary institution, and something is being done to ensure that that is also relieved. And then in the issue of the 8-month withheld salary of the university lecturer that was withheld in the previous regime, Mr. President has graciously paid 50% of it. And it's ongoing dialogue. So dialogue has no limit to what it can produce. So the dialogue is also ongoing. As far as salary is concerned, and I think that for me, I want to say that salaries is being paid. Because the salaries of lecturers is just like salaries of any other places. It's through the IPPIS payment, and the platform, as of today, I cannot remember. Probably it may be delayed, but whatever affect the lecturers may also affect other Nigerians because it is from the same district. But by and large, respect for lecturers, we are looking at education generally and see how can Nigeria be giving autonomy and allowed it to even though to see how we can navigate in that so that we can have a better system that will allow the decision. Even right now, the decision appointment of vice chancellors is being directly handled by the university council, and of which academic staff of all the tertiary institutions are a major component in that council. I assure you, you cannot sell any idea of your own without the support of the academic discipline. So they are also disciplined. Now, on the issue of respect, I think you can agree with me that government still respect academic staff union, and it has been engaging them in many fora to ensure that where we expect that we should have what can I call transparency and effectiveness. And they have been participating and doing wonderfully well. Let's say, for example, the roadmap we have developed is a product of a higher level of academic excellence that sat down together to come up with those with that product. Okay, and I can't say that I can believe that any other person that is outside that except an administrator. Yes.
Dr. Sununu, please, if you can keep these responses concise, that will help a lot. But you just mentioned something now. First, the federal government has not paid any part of the 8-month salaries. Maybe there was a promise to that effect, but lecturers insist that they've not been paid.
The president has approved the payment.
But the president has approved the payment. Yeah, but no payment has taken place. Yeah. You talked about the roadmap.
We are working for that. We are working.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You talked about the roadmap.
Sir?
You talked about the roadmap. Now, the roadmap, the ministry set up an 8-man committee in line with the expectation that the performance bond that minister signed, that when you are called upon to give an account in 2024, you will be able to give account. So out of those priorities that you have identified in the roadmap, 100 days later, can you tell us specific things that your ministry has achieved? Specific things, not general talk about plans. What are those specific low-hanging fruits that we've been able to work on?
You see, yes, the roadmap, one of the specific things that we have achieved, first of all, we have produced roadmap, which is a guiding decision. Part of even the ministerial deliverables, there are advocacy areas in terms of carrying the subnational level to work together. And I told you that is also an achievement. We had a boot camp in Uyo on basic education, which have gathered a lot of stakeholders, and we have developed policy on how we are going to move forward so that we can have an effective collaboration, hitherto going away from what was there before. And this collaboration is also aimed at increasing financial utilization. And that has produced results. I want to assure you that many states that were mentioned before as not accessing the University Basic Education Fund through payment of grant has reduced significantly. That's also a greater achievement for us. And not only that, you have to know that we have a lot of issues that we have addressed within the ministry. I told you that specifically, we came and made a circular that wasn't, not a circular, a proposal that has not been approved. We have granted approval, and circular was released by the Salaries and Wages Commission, of which we are also working with finance to ensure implementation. Of which I also mentioned to you that the ministry, during our tenure, we have also achieved in trying to see a way that the his whole salary, has got the blessing of the Mr. President to get that. And then President has also approved the payment for 4 months, which we are also working to ensure that that is also paid. Now, if you look at, we also came up with the issue. What we want is education for our time. And what is that education for our time? It's an education that is based with skill and access that is qualitative, most especially that have technical basis. As I'm telling you right now, immediately we came, right now we have an ongoing construction of technical vocational colleges in many states of the Federation. That the mobilization just started almost not less than 2 weeks back, which is also through our constructive engagement to ensure that we cannot say that we are going to give, we want to improve on our technical-based education when we don't have the schools. So we are doing, and we are also now trying to see how we can incorporate technology in our teaching so as to address the issue of teacher crisis in the country. And I can tell you that I want to assure you, just about 2 weeks ago, I was at the Digital Resource Center of Universal Basic Education, which is around Kado area. And I will invite you, Mr. Ruben Abadi, to please have a time, go and see that center for yourself. It is an international center by all ramifications. And what is the essence of that center? Right now, we are constructing and building smart schools in virtually all the centers of the Federation. So that can have as those schools are now going to serve as a tributaries or recipient of what the digital center is producing, so that they can go, we can increase the access of digital education using that center as a addition. And it's also been mandated to train the human capacity. They have done the training and training of trainers at South Korea, and we are now at level of stepping it down. And even before the smart school construction is completed, we have so far admitted and trained so many digital teachers in that same institution. And we have also encouraged state to also develop their own smart centers, which they are also doing. Just I'm sure in my state, about 5 of them have sprung out, and the construction is ongoing in Kebbi State. These are also so as to join them with Digital Resource Center owned by the Universal Basic Education Commission, so that we can, all we are intending is to have education for all that is qualitative, accessible, and that is effective in transforming individual life to be responsive to himself, to his country and community.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sununu.
Yes.
Let me go back to the student loan issue. The president in June had said that the commencement of the student loan would begin in January of 2024. We are now in December. Are we on track for it to commence in January 2024? And in order for this to happen, there are a few things by provision in the Constitution, by law, that has to be in place. The Education Bank, for instance. Number 2 is, have you started to receive applications for the student loans if you're going to begin administration by January 2024? I mean, bearing in mind the holiday, season, time off then, are you on track to begin in January 2024?
Well, I want to tell you that we are on track. The committee, as I mentioned earlier, are working day in, day night. And they also have to develop, you see, as I mentioned earlier, which was made clear, the whole thing is going to be online, not through physical and other access, no. And ongoing now, as at right now, a special website and that will favor the easy access is being developed. And I assure you very soon it will be on bail. And the major issue, which has been mentioned by Dr. Ruben Abati, is the issue about the bottleneck, which I also tell you that the bottleneck is being addressed. As far as that is concerned, this committee is coming up with
a specific timeline.
With a recommendation.
Are you able to give us a specific timeline? When would students, Nigerians, because they're watching and they're eager to know, when will students be able to access funds? Is there a probable date?
You have mentioned you may yourself.
No, I mean, January is 31 days in January. Do we have second week, third week?
So if you say 31 days, you have mentioned that President has ensured that by January it will. The Chief of Staff in his inaugural lecture at the Yaba College of Technology has also mentioned that. You understand? So what do we say? You see, the issue of us is we want a trust in governance. And trust in governance must be timelined. You understand? So timeline can say, if I say within 1 month, so it means it may take from January to 31st. But as much as possible, we are going to work hard to ensure that by the 31st of January, just the beneficiary will have accessed it. That's when you now hold out responsible. But if I say 1st January, 2nd January, 3rd January, 5th January, no, it doesn't work like that. You understand? But I will assure you that whatever is and even, you see, why we want to differ much from the past, is the issue of communication for effective trust. If for any reason, I'm not saying that it's going to be any reason, because we are working hard, we will explain if it cannot. But the issue is not for you to just say something and forget about people. We know that as far as student loan is concerned, we are being tracked by multinational bodies, international, local, and even the students themselves, parents too, are watching and are eager to see how much can we do. And I assure you that by the political will and the trajectory of Mr. President, that is achievable.
Well,
and we'll achieve it and deliver by 31st of January.
We have to We have to start rounding up now. I see you like the phrase. I assure you. The last time some people came around in Abuja and they kept assuring us, I assure you, nothing came out of it. So when I hear I assure you, I'm very skeptical. But that's not my question.
Mr. Ruben,
yes.
When I came last time, I told you we are going to produce a roadmap. Yes. And I assure you that it is there. And the copy of roadmap is available.
You are still assuring us.
What we did is to see how can we develop operational framework with timeline. Yes, we want to achieve this. This is what we want to achieve. And we have also developed a dashboard that we can be uploading our accesses there, our progress there, so that it can be easily tracked. Everybody will know.
Okay, I assure you, Dr. Sununu, that we'll keep our fingers crossed. Then my final question to you. University teachers,
let's keep our fingers crossed, and then, yes, sir.
University teachers are saying they don't want to be paid through IPs. But the federal government is insisting on still using IPs, which, ASU has argued is fraudulent. Even the National Industrial Court has ruled that IPs is illegal. There is a ruling to that effect. I don't know whether that has been appealed. So why is the federal government still insisting on IPs for paying the university teachers?
Well, there are some certain issues that are not really co-ministerial mandate. You understand? Because while we agree that we are employers and working together with us, certain decisions are interministerial. The Ministry of Finance that are responsible for such may have its own reasons. You understand? But you see, so much I said, and I quite believe in dialogue, and dialogue will never have an end. We must always sit on the table to discuss. Certain things will be distant. Probably the issue is the fact that they have raised some issues that are not covered or captured by IPs. And we are also looking at the possibility of those items raised by the ISO. How can they be incorporated into IPs too? You see, at times, you must know that everything has a backsplash. Where are we now? We have some problem nationwide. If you are Ruben Abati, when you are a junior worker or at the time you entered into the civil service, if you are before, you know that as this country we have a single salary, probably a single, I don't know, by my age probably. I don't know as at then whether you have a single salary structure. But with the development and societal independence, you can now see that if I ask you what is the number of salary structures we have right now in the country, you cannot mention. Even in health, we have so many. In education, we have so many. You understand? So the government will have to look at the implications. If any ministry, any department will now say that this is our own salary structures. I'm not saying that is the reason, but it's also you can look at things openly. How do we address such issues? But I assure you that, okay, you don't want me to use that, I assure you, but I will tell you that there is an ongoing dialogue towards that, and we have also listened to the argument of ASU. we are also going to have an intra-ministerial collaboration to discuss this issue. Not only on the still is ASU matter, but you understand that even in the ministry, we have other co-workers. Right now, you have teachers of basic education in the colleges of health sciences and the College of Medicine of our university, also clamoring for something different, which I agree we are going to have an inter-ministerial meeting with Federal Ministry of Health so as to address those peculiarities raised by them. So we also look at this, and we are looking at the possibility of also having, which we are going to have with many other issues that will involve the Office of the Head of Service, Salaries and Wages Commission, budget planning, and finance, so that we can address some peculiar issues that has to do with wages and salaries of the Ministry of Education.
On that note, we would like to thank you very much, Dr. Sununu, Minister of State for Education of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for joining us on The Morning Show.